morning. I was recently going through the gallery of my mother's old phone when I came across a painting. This was an untitled depiction about the Kerala floods by Mr. Dibin K. Tiligan. Now, initially, it struck me as odd how he chose to depict the water, rushing through and past the houses and civilians, using a color that could so easily be mistaken for solid, dry land. Because certainly, water, the cardinal element at the time, should be given its rightful characteristic recognition, right? Well, not necessarily. It wasn't until I read an article about the work that I came to understand that even though Mr. Tiligan recollects the water surrounding him, what he truly took back were the people who came together regardless of political and religious beliefs. This work taught me the immeasurable power of perspective as what separates one blob of paint on a canvas from another entirely. Allow me to lay out for you why exactly it was immeasurable to me. My name is Aparna Muraleedharan. I'm a 10th grader and I love the arts. I loved acting during our Broadway productions, dancing during inter-school competitions, singing in the shower, you get the idea. And up until very recently, I used to love drawing and painting. So much so that I took it up as the art and design curriculum in 9th grade and have continued it through 10th. And frankly, because none of the other subjects interested me. But I came to realize that this subject was nothing like middle and junior school art and craft. I felt everything I loved about art, its freedom, unencumbered by judgment, room for exploration, all replaced by cold, hard objectivity. I found that there's a very fine line between what Cambridge doesn't blatantly tell you not to do and what's actually going to get you marks. A fact all my mentors made very clear to our batch. For example, hyper-realistic faces are a great way to progress. But at the end of the day, I just felt suffocated. I felt that little girl who loved drawing faces and hands and landscapes by watching YouTube tutorials fade away and be replaced by this bitter little thing with a growing urge to drop the subject and run far away from any sketchbooks. But it turns out that life has a rather ironic way of playing out, because art was the very thing I needed to bring that little girl back to me. Last month, on the eve of my final Mock 1 paper, my mother decided that she had had enough of my relentless brooding. So, she booked us tickets to see the Kochi Biennale that my sister and I loved visiting when we were younger. The artistic freedom I sensed through those artworks was simply enlightening. I felt like that little girl did, skipping through the halls hand in hand with her sister and gaping open-mouthed at the inconsistent squiggles and grotesque figures on display. I felt seen, even though not a soul there knew who I was. So this year round, I decided to change the narrative. I looked past the larger-than-life canvases and at a smaller rectangle on display, a mini blurb plus biography about the artwork and its respective artist. I realized that these were people, not perfect, untouchable figurines of society, but people who were once little boys and girls that loved art as much as I did, as much as I do. It hit me in that moment that not only did I want to elicit such a powerful reaction using my art, but I also had the means to do so. For years, I thought that that little girl had run away from me, when in reality, I was the one who had shut her out, putting up walls by piling limitation upon limitation. So, I decided to let it go. I carved open that blocked nook of art and my love for it in my headspace. And I saw the home that that little girl had made for herself there, rooted in doubt and neglect. And now, every time I feel suffocated, I knock on her doors and she welcomes me home. When I eventually got up from the benches and past looking at the mammoth canvases, Mr. Tilligan's name greeted me again at the Biennale. His works were on display as part of the Roots to Home collection. And as I walked through the exhibition, I was reminded of a quote by Albert Camus. Without freedom, no art. Art lives only on the restrictions it imposes on itself and dies of all others. Thank you.